Daddy, chill.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Joey. So, the Noobs have returned. Forza opened up the Game Pass a few days ago, and I jumped into the Forza GT Hopper this week to see how the safety ratings are holding up. Are we going to get murdered, or are we going to have some good racing? Per usual, we're going to go through some races, make fun of my shitty driving, and find out. In around turn 1 here at Indy, what do you know? We're getting spun by Darth Noob and hit by his apprentice over here, making us look like a ceiling fan. No better start. There's no better way to start a race than to turn a couple $100,000 BMW, probably more, into a small house appliance that hangs from the ceiling. This is good stuff. So for those of you guys that aren't as familiar with Forza or some of the launches that have gone down in the past, the first couple of weeks of the game are usually pretty damn chaotic. There's a lot of crashing, a lot of corner cutting, and the good racing is pretty few and far between. And it's not really just the first couple of weeks, it's definitely more than that, but as the newbies get a little bit more experience and some of them fall off because maybe like track racing isn't their thing, the racing tends to get a little bit better as time goes on. And talking about better racing, take a look at that cutback right there, soak it in. Because racing like that, good racing like that, only happens once in a blue moon on this channel. Skipping to lap 2 now, coming back through the S's in the M8. Let's see if we can get another pass done on this Acura and the Dodge Viper up front. No, it does not look like it's going to happen here. I've used the power of the force to turn the car into a lawnmower, I guess, or at least half a lawnmower. Only a couple tires went onto it. And then we'll throw it into hyperspace down the straight, sitting in 6th place. So considering the first lap, I'd say we're in a pretty good position here. The Viper going for a big dive up the inside of the Acura. Jim Leahy, Mr. Leahy, clearly a big Trailer Park Boys fan. If you haven't seen that show, watch it. It is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. It's been a couple episodes in a row now that we just had some great gamer tags in these races. Probably because I'm just used to seeing the same old people on Forza Motorsport 7 all the time. So it's good to see now. Alright, on the back straight, Mr. Leahy knows we're there. He's going defensive. We're going to move out wide, take a better line into the left-hander, out-braking him. Showing some nards through the braking zone there. It'll be hard on the tires, though, which are mediums. So we're going to do 2 stints of medium tires, braking around the 6th lap. Now, there, I just passed a guy going into the pits, so we're up in the 3rd place. And I learned some valuable information, and that is that 2nd place at the time, now in 1st place, our leader, has about a 4.5 second penalty. Something to keep in mind once we get closer to the end of the race. Now here, end of 6th lap, I crossed the pit entry line like an MLG pro, and now the off-track loading thing decides whether I'm a massive noob or not and to give me a penalty. Once we exited though, somehow it didn't give me one. I thought for sure I'd be getting a couple seconds worth of a penalty there for crossing the line. It's happened to me before. At least for now, I can walk free, and we'll pick this back up. Lap 7, coming around the final corners of the track. We've caught up to a pack in front. We've got an Audi who has decided to spin a Porsche. I say decided. I don't know what he was thinking. All I know is we've gotten a couple of places out of it, and now we're going to pass another guy in the pits and get back up into 4th place. And that's where it ended up finishing, but 3rd place was the one with the 4.5 second penalty. So we've crossed the line, and when the scoreboard pops up, we got 3rd place. And we got it by a 1.5 seconds about, a little over a 1.5 seconds. And we sneak away with a podium finish. That Audi actually finished in 1st. We were following him for the majority of the race. He was down back by us, and he managed to claw his way back up to the top. So good for him. And here's our little podium celebration, you know, because it's always good to let everyone else in the lobby know that you were the 3rd fastest for the past 10 minutes. But now we're really going to put the strain on the safety system here. Spa in the wet and starting from the back. That is just asking for some crashing. And here we go. Right off the bat, a trio of noobs who can't get off the start line. Into the hairpin now, and with those guys behind us, there was no way we were going to get through here cleanly. I get fisted up into the Porsche, and then as I'm trying to avoid him, I almost nearly spin out the BMW. Luckily, only the Porsche got spun out, and it wasn't mine. So I'm happy and selfish, but I'll filter back into the slipstream of the BMW and try to take on Radeon and Eau Rouge, but apparently I was going a little too slow for Speed Racer here in the Porsche. Actually, you know what, that was probably the Porsche that I spun out. Maybe he was a little bit angry with me. Luckily, the penalty system realized that while I drive just about as bad in-game as my mother does in real life, it was probably the contact that pushed me wide there, so they let us race on, and then we could get alongside the Corvette at the end of the Kemmel Straight. The Corvette we just passed decided he wants a piece of the other Corvette. You know, clearly some sort of dominance need to be established here. I'll look for the move around the outside of the dogfight, though, and it pays off. I easily could have been pushed off the track there. It worked out pretty well for me, though, and then grabbing another position from the BMW into the carousel. So we're up 2 positions overall from the start of the race, starting in 19th, now in 17th, and we can settle into the race. Unfortunately, this guy up here facing the wrong way didn't really have time to settle in. He's pretty much donezo now, and then we're going into the double left, or if we want to get French about it, the double gauche. This guy has found a new racing line. That is the best I've ever seen the double left taken. I mean, good for this guy. What a free soul. Live on, man. Track limits are a suggestion. Have another beer. That's what it's all about. As far as I'm concerned, I think this guy's doing it right, and it should be said, I was recording these races on a Friday, so most of us have probably had a beer or two, and the brake markers start blurring into the surroundings a little bit. And with that in mind, I think the penalty system might do with keeping it a little lenient on Fridays, maybe. You know, if a track cut penalty was normally a second, just hand out a half a second. So, something for Turn 10 to think about, I guess. And Turn 10, if you're watching, please reach out. I've got a bunch of revolutionary new ideas. That's the best one so far, and really the only one, but by the time you reach out, I'll have some more, I promise. Okay, let's finish the lap-long tangent here, and we're coming around the final turn in 13th place, so pretty solid lap, I'd say. We've gained a few spots, and we'll fast forward down into turn 1, and then coming up on Radeon and Eau Rouge, we've got another Porsche over on our left side. Iron Man, the man that hit me through Eau Rouge on lap 1. We're going to get a nice move done. Wait for him to move over to the left. Space opens up on the right, accelerating out of the corner. It's a job well done. And then later on, lap 2, we've caught up to another Corvette who is struggling to keep the back end sound. The Porsche, why I love this car so much is it is so planted. Deja vu, I just been in this place before. And that's what I mean. Through Blanchiment, foot down, tiny little drift, and I never felt like the car was going to get completely out of shape. I was going to lose it. Even the oversteer doesn't really feel like oversteer in this car. It's just a really nice feeling car, especially in the wet. Getting a nice little bump there from behind, which actually helped me onto the straight. Trying to poke my nose up alongside the Audi, and keeping in mind we've got a Porsche on the other side of the track as well, into the hairpin. And here comes Iron Man, saving the day, keeping the Audi on the outside for me. Just doing God's work. So starting the lap out right, overtaking a couple of folks, and now we've got our final test of Eau Rouge coming up with, it looks like, an Audi, and maybe that was a Porsche in front of him. Here we go, over to the left, running the curb, back to the right, with a dab of brake and back on the throttle, trying it around the outside, and we just go off. What are you doing? It looked like the back left was off the curb by like half of an inch, and so we got a second and a half for it. It wasn't all lost though. I eventually built up a gap from those two and caught up to P5 and 4. P5 is apparently one of those guys that's had a few too many drinks and just drove off the track real quick, going around the outside of the 4th place guy. He doesn't have a penalty, so somehow through the chicane, I'm going to need to put a second and a half between us. The odds are definitely against us, but here we go, entering the chicane through the first turn nicely and back to the left just as well onto the straight. It looks like we're about a second ahead, getting a little bit of tire spin there, and then all of a sudden the car starts having a mental breakdown and doesn't want to accelerate. So I don't really know what was going on there. Maybe the car was out of gas, but it looked like I still had a little bit left and the tires were okay. Maybe I was going through some puddles. Don't really know, but in the end, it was a 5th place, so 4th place overtook us after the fact, but we did stay ahead of 6th place, who also had about a second and a half of penalties there, so I'll take the top 5 and move on. So we've got Catalunya, Barcelona here, starting in 7th place. This was a really fun one, and I actually got the chance to race with a couple of you guys, Toasty and TFL Radical, both really quick, really clean drivers. It was a pleasure racing with you guys, and I appreciate your Xbox messages. Thanks for watching the videos. So around turn 1, nearly getting bit by an angry snake right there. I think that was a Viper. but we're driving away unscathed. And around turn 2, it looks like our brethren up here in the Corvette got hit maybe or lost the back end. He is kind of our teammate, but I'll take my positions where I can because I am merciless. Over the hill and onto the straight, we find ourselves in between a couple of packs here, but I look behind me just in time to see the evolution of a car into a lawnmower. Poor Toasty just had nowhere to go there as the guy tried to get his lefts back onto the track. And then skipping the lap 2, it looks like Radical taking a little break on the racetrack, getting some sunbathing in, beach vacation, Alonso style. So that was the first time that a viewer has ever recommended a meme, and also the first time a viewer has ever recommended a meme for their own screw up. So shout out to Radical, 1 for being a good sport, and 2 for the legendary meme recommendation. Alright, so it's lap 3, P5, and I've gotten a 1/10 of a second penalty for running wide on a turn, and I've just made another mistake, straying off the track, so add another 7/10 to that, up to 8/10 now. No meme can convey the disappointment in myself, so we're just going to keep going. Laz here in the Bentley and I are locked in a battle. If it stays this way, I'm going to have to concede the corner. I am backing off just a little bit, quickly getting back into the draft and letting them tow me down the straight, building up that speed, pulling over to the right side. We're going to find out who's got the bigger balls and better brakes into turn 1. I already know it's not me. Look at this Bentley go around the outside. I tapped him a little bit, push him wide, and he still gets the move done around the outside. A heck of a move, and now we're just back to our original positions. A little bit of deja vu again, until Mr. Smooth joins the battle. I can confirm he is smooth with it. Like a snap of the finger, I'm down in the 6th place. Not giving up though. I'm going to try my stupid little move, keeping it narrow, trying to stay alongside and into the carousel. Got to give that place up for sure. And coming out of the corner, they really start to pull away, and I'm slowly starting to fall out of that slipstream. Laz up front absolutely murders a cone, leaving the family behind, just taking one of them. That's just sick and twisted. Okay, lap 7, the front left tire is starting to go out on me. Mr. Smooth going off into the sand, a little beach vacation of his own, giving me 5th place. I know he's going to be hanging around though. He's not going away. Still right behind me. And only a couple corners later, I'm not coping with that front left tire degradation very well. That's a big word. Congratulations, me. And I give up that position. From 5th down into 6th place, that's where I'm going to finish. Some great racing, fun battling. In the week that I thought I'd be getting smashed around the most and have no good races, I've had some pretty fun ones. I mean, the starts of the races are always going to be crazy. When you got 24 people on a track and digital cars with no repercussions, someone's going to get smashed off. But once you get a couple laps in, or even just like 1 lap in and everything settles down, the racing gets good. The safety rating's doing its job. Good to see. And for the last race, back in the Porsche at Spa. We did it in the wet already, but I really like the Porsche over there, so I figured let's try it out again in the dry, see what we can do, and immediately, around turn 1, getting up into 1st place. The name of the game now is keeping it clean, trying to stay consistent. Spa is obviously a longer track, so putting in consistent laps is a little more difficult, but up the hill, the rear end of the car gets loose, and I've got myself a penalty for 2 track violations. It's going to be 3/10 of a second, so not nearly as bad as the track cut at Spa was before in the wet. I would assume that's because I didn't overtake anybody while I was committing the disgusting act of penaltiness. The second time up the hill was much better, carrying a ton more speed and reeling in that chunky monkey in the Bentley right there. That thing looks massive, but it is a pretty decent car for the Forza GT hopper. I tried it at Lime Rock after I was done recording, and Lime Rock, very small track, you need all the handling you can. You wouldn't really imagine a Bentley to be any good at handling, but that thing carries its own. Pretty damn good car. The Audi is also apparently pretty decent. That's the one I haven't tried yet, so maybe for the next video we'll do the Audi, the Bentley, and if you guys have any recommendations, definitely send those my way. We'll give them a shot in the next one. For now though, it's all about the Porsche. We're around turn 9, the medium tires holding up pretty well. That's another thing. I feel like the medium tires is just the way to go, or at least it seems like it on pretty much every single track. Whether it's the medium one stop on the longer tracks or the medium no stop on the shorter ones, it just feels like the medium is the way to go. I haven't had a whole lot of success on the hard or soft tires, and we just saw right there, the second place guy got a 3/10 penalty. And after that, I was able to build up a bit of a gap and got the Porsche a nice little victory. So we're going to end the video with a good old shoey, and it's just awesome to see that there's a heck of a lot more clean racing at launch than there has been in the past. Obviously, the game's not perfect, but I'm just excited to keep on playing. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do all the stuff the YouTubers tell you to do at the ends of videos, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, bye, everybody.